Zeder is PSG Group's established listed company which invests in the unlisted agricultural, beverage, food and other agri-related sectors.
Exactly. So we know PSG, we've spoken about them recently. Of course, the management team around Gianni Maton has done an absolutely amazing job. They have selected key sectors. We know about their investment in Capitec. We know about their investment in Curro. What you have here is the sort of third horse in the stable, and that is their involvement in agriculture-linked businesses, principally in the Western Cape, because, of course, they had access to, knew a lot of people in the co-op agricultural area. So they've got a big chunk of Pioneer, big chunk of Kaap Agri, Oorveekar, all these like co-op, Senvest, and all the others which they've invested in along the way.
Market cap of 11 billion rand, price to earnings ratio of just over 22, currently not paying any dividends. Do you like the exposure here to the agriculture environment in the Western Cape?
I do. I think they've done very well with these assets. They cobbled together sort of unloved assets, let's say. But the food story is quite positive. It's like the personal care story we spoke about a few weeks ago. Urbanization is driving demand for prepared foods. And these businesses are throughout the agri chain, and they've seemed to have sweated the assets of these underlying businesses, made them much more productive. Technology is quite a big story in agri, and you've seen them reap the fruits of that. So again, a very successful share price performance, especially over the last year, if you have a look. And I think a nice collection of assets. It's an interesting one if you like that and believe the food story. I think the population of the world's getting bigger, and food is an issue. So very defensive, and coming in at quite a high discount to NAV. So there's certainly no premium here. The discount to NAV is around 18 or 16%.
And if you bought it at around about 4 rand, you've done very well for yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so the biggest asset by far in the portfolio is a big interest held through an intermediary structure in Pioneer, and we know how well Pioneer has done, particularly under the new CEO, Phil Roux. But why is this one on our list today? It is there because the PSG Group has a fee, I think it's 1 or 2% of NAV, plus 10% of any performance uplift that the Zeder portfolio has. But to be fair to the PSG guys, they didn't just take it as absolute gains like the Renette one is. They said they would take 10% of any performance above the listed JSE food and beverage sector. So what that means is if Tiger Brands and all those other big companies in that space do well, these guys at PSG only take an increment if it's above that. So at least there's a good benchmark, which means that the investors aren't being quite as heavily penalized as in some of those other structures.
Yeah, it's certainly a much fairer situation and arrangement. And the assets are interesting, and I think they have really added value to these assets. I think a lot of them, BAT is a totally different story. These are quite active investments, and so are they doing what they're meant to do as a private equity stroke hedge fund type of investor? I believe they are.
Plus, there are a couple of additional investments we haven't touched on where they bought like agricultural lands and estates in Angola, and I think there's another one, whether it's Zambia or Malawi, I can't remember. So they are looking more broadly, because I think everyone knows the story. There's all the 7 billion people to eat. Yes, we're getting productivity improvements, but there's a significant amount of arable land in Africa, and it's the only remaining arable land that isn't currently utilized. So Zeder, if it plays its cards right, could be part of that. And at 11 billion rand, starting to become a credible player in the agricultural business across the region.
The stat is 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land lies in Africa.
And much of it in places like Angola, the DRC, and so on.
So they're playing to that story. And of course, agriculture, as you say, becoming more and more important for the human race as we have to feed everybody.
Yes.
Well, I'm quite convinced. Can I take a step out and quickly go and make a trade on this one? Hot or not?
I'm hot on this one.
Paul?
Yeah, it's done well, and I like the underlying assets, the key ones, plus the theme is in the right direction. So hot on this one.